Hi friends, welcome to my channel. I'm Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist. All right guys, today we are talking troubleshooting texture. And a few weeks ago, I did a video on application methods to get the least amount of texture, if that is an issue for you. But today we're gonna be talking about types of texture, whether those are like coming from the skin or due to the color of your makeup, due to application or contour issues and all of the things. And I'm gonna kind of break it down step by step of the types of texture issues you might be having and how you can fix it today. So if you wanna check it out, please keep watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks for being here. All right, friends, so texture. I am going to be, well, not that I'm not always 100% honest with y'all today, but we're going to be dropping some truth bombs about texture when it comes to skin's natural texture, pores, all of the things. So first of all, the number one reason we might be seeing texture is due to texture. So all of our skin naturally is going to have texture. It is human. It is normal. Filters are a big fat lie, and you'll never see filters from me because I feel like we truly need to normalize the look of skin's texture. I think natural skin texture is beautiful. I love to be able to see the texture of my skin. That is why I wear the makeup the way I do, and I'm not wearing heavy, thick makeup that completely takes out the texture of my skin. I don't feel like it looks natural, and it's a personal preference. So if you want to be able to appreciate the skin's natural texture, but I get it. We all have pores and we all have some texture issues that can occur due to different reasons that maybe we want to avoid and maybe not emphasize. So the main purpose of this video is ways we can not emphasize texture that isn't already there, okay? There's not a whole lot you can do if you're putting makeup over already heavily textured skin. I will be 100% transparent. No makeup is going to take away that texture. It's just not physically possible with the makeup we have today. And everything else is just a marketing gimmick when they say it's going to smooth your pores, lines, and wrinkles. It's not possible. It will settle in them over time. Oh, somebody just jumped in my lap. He's just gonna make it a weekly thing. He is into everything right now. So I'm not talking about taking away skin's texture. I'm talking about how we can avoid emphasizing skin's texture. So we might have a dry patch. Like my rosacea is full blown today, which rosacea naturally just has texture to it. I don't want to put something that's going to just make that texture look more apparent and look obvious. I want it to decrease the look of that texture, right? So there's certain application methods, colors, skincare, things we can do to kind of help improve the texture of our skin and approve that smooth finish we want from our makeup, all right? The number one easiest way to improve the look of your makeup is taking care of your skin. It is truly a canvas. You can't cover certain things with makeup when all makeup's going to emphasize certain levels of texture, right? So first things first, I am an avid believer in exfoliation. As we age, it is even more important that we are exfoliating regularly because our skin actually, that natural skin cell turnover decreases daily. It starts slowing down so much that your skin's naturally not going to exfoliate enough. You've got to help it along in order to see that glowing look to your skin. Exfoliation is key. So, different ways you can exfoliate. If you are brand new to exfoliating, I recommend something gentle, okay? This is my ride or die holy grail. Been using it for over 4 years and is the only thing that really doesn't aggravate my rosacea. and is the only thing that I feel is a very universal exfoliator for all skin types, and nothing else works like it. I know I've talked about it numerous times before, but it's the Cure Natural Aqua Gel. And yes, there are fakes on Amazon, so I will link below in the Dropbox the one I have repurchased every single time. And I know it's real because it works. I could go on and on about the science that this is proven to actually get rid of dead skin. And it's incredible if you haven't seen it. Way it balls up dead skin and just gives you, like, you can tell it works because your skin will feel so smooth when you're done. So this is my ride or die. I use it every 3 days like clockwork. I can literally feel my nose and chin when I haven't used this, and I can tell by just touching my face that I need to exfoliate. So usually when somebody tells me that they're having texture issues in certain areas and they didn't like the day before or a couple days before, or they've been wearing the makeup regularly and then all of a sudden then it starts showing texture, my first question is, when's the last time you exfoliated? Because naturally your makeup is going to go on differently every single day until you exfoliate and get that top layer of dead skin off again. And then you'll see you'll have a smoother application again. And the process just is like an endless cycle, right? So your makeup will go on differently day to day, depending on how you're taking care of your skin. Again, it is your canvas. If you want a smoother look to your makeup, you've got to make sure you have exfoliated skin. Okay, the other way you can exfoliate in between those days or do like a weekly treatment. My favorite weekly is definitely this peeling solution from The Ordinary. This is an AHA BHA peel. It's like a 10-minute, I'll be honest, this is a very, I don't know how else to describe it, but spicy, okay, the first time you use it. And I'll be honest, for me with rosacea, it can pull me a little bit red for a while. So I make sure I kind of do it at night. That way my skin can kind of calm down by the next day. But this will, again, make your skin feel so smooth. Acids, don't be scared of acids. They are the best way to remove that dead skin. Another favorite of mine is glycolic acid, which again is one of the strongest acids, but it is one of the best for mature skin. So this is little like pads of glycolic acid, okay? And I do recommend working your way up to using something like this daily, but start with once a week. Try it. You'll notice your skin over time is going to get that glow. I attribute the glow of my skin mostly to my use of acids. It wasn't until I started using acids that eventually, with more long-term use, you get that natural glow. And it's because your skin is just, if it's covered with this layer of dead skin, you're never going to see that. It's just going to look dull and flat, right? So if you're wanting that glow, acids is the way to go. I did not mean to rhyme. All right, another one of my very favorite ways to get a smoother application, and I am an avid advocate of this because I felt like it made the biggest difference in my skin and the way my makeup applied, and that is shaving your face, which I know sounds crazy the first time I thought it, but I'm telling you, it's amazing. So I used to use Tinkle razors. You'll see that in some of my older videos. I'm now a lover of the Jill razor, which is like meant for women shaving. This is the smaller blade. It comes with a larger one and then a smaller one so you can really like detail. Oh my gosh, as skin is flaking off. It is the best way to kind of remove that layer of peach fuzz, remove that kind of top layer of dead skin, and give you that immediate glow. So if you've never done that before, it's amazing. It's got all kinds of, I could go into a laundry list of the ways this can benefit your skin and is good for your skin. But the number one reason that it will give you a smoother application, besides the exfoliating, is that peach fuzz. Peach fuzz on your face truly will make it hard for your creams to sit on top of your skin because it's almost gonna get kind of like caught in that hair on your face. That hair also can kind of trap bacteria to the skin, so you're also going to break out more. Skincare ingredients can't penetrate as deeper. There's just so many different reasons. But I originally did it to get rid of the peach fuzz so that my makeup went on smoother. And you will notice a huge difference because with cream makeup especially, we know that cream makeup does sit on top of the skin. Okay, so it's not sitting on that peach fuzz. It will sit directly on that skin. Unlike traditional foundation, because liquids actually get absorbed in the skin. All that water evaporates and they dry down and they set. And these don't absorb. So it is a reason why it's kind of crucial to kind of get that off and to get that smooth finish, to get that peach fuzz off. I promise you won't regret it. It does not come in darker. There's so many wives' tales about that, but I promise I've been doing it for almost 5 years. And it's one of the best things I've ever done for my skin as well. So it's kind of an exfoliation thing. Also will give you a smoother finish. Okay, let's talk a little bit about pores and fine lines because I've done a video over on Instagram before talking about the truth about pores because I feel like this is a huge misconception in the beauty industry, and it's mostly due to marketing because a lot of times you'll see all these pore filling or pore blurring type products on the market. And I will be honest, they're mostly silicone based, okay? So those silicones, the reason why they put them in products is because it kind of has that blurring effect to the skin. What it does, it kind of gives you that mattified look, and it truly will blur those areas as long as you don't put anything over it. So it works for those no makeup days. Say you just want your pores to look smaller around your nose, use one of those pore filling primers there, leave the house. It's gonna kind of mattify that and make the appearance of pores less. But as soon as you start putting anything over it, it actually has no effect. You won't be able to see that effect because you're gonna see the makeup. And makeup, even experts in the makeup industry will tell you those products don't really work once you put the makeup on over them. So I truly feel like it's a great product for people who don't want to put on makeup but want to kind of give themselves a little bit of that blurred effect. The reason why it works is because you are taking away the reflection of light. Okay, so right now I am very glowy and I'm reflecting a lot of light, which in turn, what does that mean? When my skin reflects that light, you can see the texture of my skin. So in order to kind of make it appear like that texture isn't there, you can mattify it, okay? So whatever you wanna use. So I like the glow to my skin. I don't wanna mattify it because I feel like when you mattify your skin, it actually will make your skin look drier and then you look older. But I get it that there's certain areas of your face that might benefit from a little bit of mattifying, but I don't recommend your full face. So I would never recommend going in with like a mattifying primer across your entire face unless you are very oily and you're just doing it as a base under your makeup, which when you add our creams, it'll kind of give you back some of that healthy glow. I use something like this, which is a glowing sunscreen, which actually enhances the look of a dewy look, right? Because that's the look I want, because I want my skin to look more youthful. But if you're using something like this and feel like your pores are more apparent, it's because this has light reflecting particles that is then gonna make your pores stand out more. So I don't recommend this if pores are an issue for you. I'd recommend either using something mattifying just on those areas or applying your makeup, and then all you have to do is use powder anywhere you don't want pores to be more apparent, because a powder pressed on after your makeup is done is going to take away that light reflection, and literally that is the only reason that it's making your pores look bigger. There is no such thing as pore filling that is actually going to fill your pores. Your pores can't be filled. Your pores don't open. That's another marketing thing that is not actually true. Your pores can't open or close. The only reason your pores might look bigger is if they're congested. The only way to get them not congested is to incorporate acids, mostly BHAs, in your skincare routine and then keep them clear. That will make the appearance of your pores looking smaller, but there's no way to actually shrink your pores once they've been enlarged due to congestion. So that's, again, a marketing thing. You hear it all the time. It's not true. Scientifically, you can't open or close your pores, but you can clear them out and keep them clear, and that will make them look smaller. And then by using something matte over it will not give you that glow in that area, but it will make your pores look smaller, less apparent, not emphasize them. Anything glowy you put over them, like an illuminator or something like that, it can emphasize the look of pores. And we'll get it more into that too as we get into the makeup and how it can make certain areas look more apparent as well. I should have said at the beginning, it's the same thing with fine lines, okay? Fine lines, again, same thing. They're gonna be more apparent when light reflects. So this is why I always powder under my eyes, because it will kind of blur them to an extent, because it is simply taking away that shine, that dewy glow that will give you the appearance of less lines and wrinkles. But the caveat there is depends on the powder. So when we get to that part about setting our makeup, I'll talk about that. Okay, and last but not least, we're gonna talk about dry patches. So sometimes, especially in winter, sometimes we just get like a little dry patch and we're like, okay, but like, it doesn't matter. My normal shade is just emphasizing that. So I normally recommend applying your sunscreen or your moisturizer or whatever your skincare is, and then waiting a good like 15 to 20 minutes and letting it fully soak in. So then when you apply your makeup, it's been absorbed properly and it will kind of glide across the skin really easily, right? We don't want too much tackiness, stickiness, because then the creams could stick to certain places. But my one caveat to that is a dry patch, okay? So one of my favorite ways to combat that, because I feel like I get them every winter, is I literally use this. In fact, I did today right here, which is why it's probably a little irritated, because I had a breakout. You can probably see it right there. And it had gotten to that point where it was dry and like had dry skin over it. And it didn't, I knew makeup wasn't gonna sit well on there, because you can probably all figure that out by now. Concealer, foundation, nothing's gonna go over a dry blemish that's kind of healing, little crusty. It's never gonna sit on that. It's just gonna emphasize that texture no matter what. But if you kind of remove that dead skin around it and get it as smooth as possible, then you've got a chance of putting makeup over it, color correcting it, making sure the color isn't what's making it apparent, and then it's not gonna show up as a dry spot on your face. So one of the reasons I use the Jill razor is because I can easily kind of just take off a little bit of that dry flaking skin. And I use it a lot anywhere I have dry patches. And then what I do is I'll use something like this silicone-free priming moisturizer, and I'll spot treat them just where needed. And I'll just like take a very small amount, because it doesn't take much. Like that's even too much. Okay, and then I'll just put it right on that spot. Okay, and I'll maybe let it sit a minute or two. Sometimes it depends on how dry your skin is. You might want to go immediately in with makeup. Again, kind of trial and error it, see how long it's good for you. But key is silicone free. I love our milk cream, and I highly recommend it every single night to hydrate the skin. But it does have dimethicone in it, so it will give issues if you put it directly to a spot and then you're trying to put your makeup on, and then if that spot is wearing off throughout the day, it's because of that silicone. Our makeup just simply cannot stick to silicone. Silicones make your face very slippery, like I said, blurry, very soft feeling to the skin, and it's that softness, that slipperiness that causes creams not to stick to it. That's why your makeup fades when you have a full face of something silicone-based under our makeup. Okay, so that is all skin, all right? Matters how you prep your skin. It truly does. So if you need a little bit of moisture in spots, if you need a little bit of mattifying so that those areas aren't quite so dewy and shiny, or if you're like me and you want full-on glow, add that extra glow, use your sunscreen, and then you should be good to go with your makeup. Okay, so skin prep is always numero uno when it comes to combating texture. Now, if your skin is nice and smooth, you have no texture going on, and then you get into your makeup and you have texture, that's number two, okay? And the number one reason with our makeup you have texture issues is if you are applying a color too light directly to skin that is darker than that color. And I see it every single day, and it is something that you might just not realize because you're like, well, but it matches my neck really great, but our makeup doesn't work that way. And it's hard until you've experienced it to understand that this makeup isn't like a traditional foundation to where you're like, oh, I want a little bit of a lighter look. I'm going to pick up this lighter foundation and put it on all over. And then it evaporates, sets. You can wear a lighter foundation with traditional liquids. Creams, these creams don't sit the same way. And if you've ever tried a shade too light, and you have come to me and be like, I look 10 years older, this makeup emphasizes all my lines and wrinkles, I know without even seeing your face that you were color matched too light, because it happens every single day. So key with this makeup is looking at the darkest point of your face, making sure you're using a color dark enough for that point. Because anywhere you apply a lighter shade, that point on your face will show texture. It will emphasize the look of anything. It won't give you a smooth finish, and it won't wear long term there either. So it'll actually wear off those areas as well. So for me, for example, it's probably very clear right now, my nose, my cheeks, my chin are the darkest points of my face. All right. So if I was to put a color that matched my neck across my cheek, this redness would start coming through. It will actually emphasize the texture of my rosacea. And even though this isn't the most textured area of my face, it will look more textured throughout the day. The makeup will actually start looking like it's almost breaking up on the skin, okay? So if you've ever looked at your face, and I feel like it's most notorious around the nose. Like most people have a broken capillary or two by the time they get to my age. So my entire nose is hyperpigmentation. So my entire nose will look textured if I wear this color on my nose, okay? And it's just the way our makeup works. The number one way to combat texture due to a color issue is making sure you're using a color corrector or a darker tone where needed, okay? So main shade that you apply all over should never give you texture issues. If it is, then you have a darker area of your face. And a lot of times people just have never looked at their face that closely before. You might not even realize that you're darker in one place, but I will, because that is what I look at first when I'm color matching somebody. I literally can tell you the difference in colors between every inch of your skin, because that's what I look at. And another thing that happens with using a shade too light is that usually it won't get the same amount of coverage. So if I was to wear this shade, which is my all over shade, on my nose, then I'll actually have to apply much more product in order to get coverage. And when you use too much product of a highlight shade, it starts looking cakey and it starts giving you makeup texture. So it's not even just emphasizing your skin's texture, it's then you're seeing the texture of the makeup. So if you ever come to me and you say the makeup looks cakey, you're using the wrong color or too much. And most of the time it's using too much of the wrong color because you're trying to get coverage on an area that you just can't get coverage on using that shade. So for me, color correction is key because these areas of my face are darker than my neck. I can't use this color here and not see texture. So I'm gonna go ahead and start applying my color corrector, which I'm almost out. See if I can get in the corners here. And I'm just going to use the smallest amount because again, using the right shades, you should have to use so very little of each one of your shades. And if you're using a lot of product, I promise you have the wrong colors. Because this makeup is so much more pigmented than traditional foundation. You should not be using much. Like, I wish you guys, like, do you see that? How it just kind of took away that redness? And you guys, I'm tapping it a little bit more to the corner just because there's like nothing there. Okay. So I've got rosacea kind of right in the center of my face. So cheeks, chin. And then this side, I do have hyperpigmentation. So I'm going to tap my finger into this corner and then press it on. I feel like hyperpigmentation could be a whole nother video because like mine, for example, it sometimes gets textured. Again, I pick up my gel razor and I exfoliate it off and it will kind of give me that smooth finish again. But something about that melanin production, it really can give you this textured dark skin in that areas as well. So I highly recommend the razor. Okay, and so there you go. When I use the right shade, matches my darkest points, I'm not gonna have texture there. Now, my under eyes, again, under eyes can be another whole video, which I have several on. And I've already done my eye makeup, so I'm gonna be a little bit very light-handed, just where needed. There. And then where my hyperpigmentation is, I'll press on a little bit more. Okay, and under eyes is where you can see so much texture because we naturally just have more texture there. So light hand, tap it on so you're not moving that under eye skin. Okay, and so I recommend buffing on your color corrector where you need it. Then you can go back and you can press on more. Where needed. So if I need to go back right here where my rosacea is flared, I can just press on a little bit more, okay? Again, it doesn't look, my face didn't turn orange there, okay? It's just the lightest hand of the right color. Same thing goes with blemishes. See if I can find a little brush. Blemishes are prone to giving texture issues as well. So use a little bit of product, press it in with the warmth of your finger. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and go in with my main shade and I'm just gonna press it on all over to kind of tone down this warmth, bring it back to matching my neck. Now, since I'd already matched the darkest points of my face, this color won't give me texture. It is just kind of toning down, building up coverage so that that redness or darkness, dark spots, whatever it may be, isn't going to start bleeding through and showing throughout the day. So it has to do with texture, longevity, coverage. All of those things are completely based on color when it comes to makeup, our makeup. It is very unique to Seint's 3D foundation. Okay, and before we finish up the highlight, we're gonna move on to contour because that's usually what I do next. And so I wanna show you as we go. And so when it comes to your contour texture, I feel like it has a lot to do with color and it has a lot to do with your skin, like we talked about in the beginning. And so when we apply contour, usually it's this area that can give us the most problems. I feel like rarely people have issues with around their forehead not blending. But here is the tricky part. And here's the part where we all see it, and it's kind of the part that's obvious, right? Pushing up our cheekbones. When the color isn't blending out here and is going on patchy, there's a few things you need to kind of know to troubleshoot that area. All right. So we have a lot of contours, right? We have cool based contours. We have warmer contours. We have more in the neutral. And the rule of thumb is if you are applying a contour and it's not blending or going on patchy, you need to move one step up to the next warmer shade. So say you're using ash, you need to move up to henna. Okay, after henna goes olive, after olive goes stone, which I don't think I've ever had anyone had to go up from olive to stone because olive is already pretty warm, okay? And those are our mid-tone contours, and that's where I'd recommend starting, even for the lightest of skin tones. Anything lighter than that is truly very hard to see on the face. You have to apply much more, and in my opinion, way too much product in order to be able to see it. So then it goes into Astoria, and Astoria is kind of the only one at a level by itself. It's what I wear on the daily, and there's none other really at that darkness. Shadow is technically not meant for the cheeks. It's only meant for the nose. And I feel like it's about the same level of darkness as Astoria, maybe a titch darker, but shadow is designed with like no warmth to it at all. So if too cool means it won't blend out, then obviously shadow, it's not meant for the face because it's going to be extremely hard to blend. So if you're using shadow, I recommend going to Astoria. You will have much easier application. Keep shadow to your nose. And then after Astoria, it kind of bumps up to Indigo as a contour. Okay, so this is Indigo. Okay, you can tell right next to it, it's much warmer. And it does pull much warmer on the face. Okay, so I use Astoria and Indigo on the daily. And I have learned this mostly from my own experience and all of my client feedback over the past 4.5 years, okay? That Indigo, I feel like, is kind of in a little city over here all by itself. And it doesn't it doesn't typically work with the rules that if it's too cool, move up, or if it's not blending, move up one warmer, okay? And so one warmer than Astoria would be Indigo, but it's much darker. So if you're using Astoria and it's not blending, by the rule, you should go up to Indigo. But the problem is Indigo actually can sometimes give more problems with patchiness than any other shade. And I don't really understand why. I think it's just because it's so dark and a lot of even really lighter skin tones like to wear it, and you totally can. But Indigo is the one shade that I feel like is most dependent on your skin and when you've exfoliated. I can tell a difference. If I'm on day 1 after exfoliated skin, I can wear Indigo no problem. It blends out like a dream and it's fine. But by day 3, when I really needed to exfoliate and I try to wear Indigo, it looks so patchy and it won't blend. And it's mainly in this area. And I don't know if it's just like our dead skin likes to kind of build up right there if we don't like exfoliate good next to our hairline, but this area is very prone for Indigo to go patchy. So I'm going to show you what I do when Indigo goes patchy. I'm going to apply it. We're going to see what it looks like today. It might be fine. So I'm just going to go in with the detail brush. This color is much darker than my normal Astoria, so we're gonna see what it looks like. Okay, and I'm just pressing to blend and then flicking upwards. Especially over that. Now, luckily my texture is kind of right here. So this could be a problem if you naturally have texture like scarring or hyperpigmentation within your contour. Indigo might very much give you a problem of application all the time. Because it's so dark, it kind of sometimes can stick to drier areas as well when you're blending. And since I don't recommend blending like this when you've color corrected underneath, you truly have to be a little bit more leery of the color you choose. So I don't feel like it looks too bad, to be honest. It's looking pretty normal today. But let's just say it went on super patchy. My fix for that, and normally this is also my fix for if you happen to be wearing a shade like ash and it's pulling patchy and you have more than one color, sometimes it's nice to have more than one tone of contour so that you can either like mix up your look on the daily, if you want a warmer look or if you want a cooler look, if you want a more natural shadow, or if you want to mix them. I mix these two all the time. So if you're wearing, say, ash one day and that day is just not blending out well, and you have olive or henna in your compact, apply it right over it. And I'm telling you, it works. And the same kind of thing goes with this one. So if you've used Astoria and it's not blending out well on you, and your next kind of option would be Indigo because you have darker skin, then I recommend just doing this. Dip, 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 and really just applying a mixture of both to the face. That is my go-to so many times. But see, you can easily just kind of apply a little bit of that other shade over it, and then usually it will blend out just fine. Or exfoliate and then wear it the next day. That's number 2. And again, if you're applying it and you feel like it's going on patchy, but really sometimes it's because I have hyperpigmentation on this side more so than this side. And you know, our faces are not mirror images of each other. So sometimes I need to just use more of my color corrector in that area than my main shade. And then when I apply my contour, I just need to be a little bit more careful to press it on so it's not moving that color. And I don't feel like it looks as patchy because you can't see that darkness kind of seeping through. Another way to kind of avoid the patchiness is to really make sure you're not swiping into the contours. When you swipe into the contours, you get color, and that wasn't a very obvious, it's really hard for me to swipe in. You tend to get color in more like, I can see it, but more like not even. It's almost like in globs on this. And so if you're not pressing on to kind of blend, when you touch your face, it can put darker areas in some points and then not on others. And so it makes you have to do this to blend it out. And in turn, what does that do? That just kind of moves around if you had to color correct anything underneath it. So it really is how you get it on your brush, how you're pressing it on. All of those things can contribute to it looking patchy, or if it's just a color issue. All right, so I'm gonna finish up my forehead by just tapping into both. Okay, I did a quick little nose contour just so I can show you guys accent brightener. Because that can actually be one of the #1 issues of texture with this makeup. So we already talked about our main shade. Your main shade should never give you texture issues. If it is, you have a darker place on your face or you have the wrong color. It's very simple. The accent brightener, which is what I call your very lightest shade if you want to brighten the face. So we do it kind of under the eyes, forehead, down the nose, chin, sometimes along the jawline if your neck is lighter. That shade is always much lighter than your main shade in order to kind of give you that brightness, that pop. But with this makeup, the lighter you go away from your main shade, the more it will naturally emphasize texture. Because again, you're applying a shade too light over a shade that's darker. So this is why I always say, match the darkest tones first, use a color corrector or your main shade, say like under your eyes. It's very rare that somebody is this color under their eyes to where they can apply this color there first, right? It's usually darker. It's usually about their overall shade. So they can apply this shade, match the darkest tones first. Then when you apply a shade over that, it's kind of like you're stair-stepping down and it's going to sit better on the skin than it ever would have on that darker skin. Does that make sense? So the only way I can brighten under my eyes is if I match the darkest tones, color correct, use my main shade. Then I can apply this shade, which is way lighter than my skin tone, and it will sit okay as long as I apply it in a certain way. Because again, this shade can emphasize fine lines, pores. It can actually look heavy and makeup-y, and it all has to do with how much you're using, the color you're using, and how you're finishing off with application. All right, I'm just gonna pick up the blend brush and we're just gonna do, actually no, I'm gonna show you guys this because it's gonna apply it much heavier so that you can see texture. So this is the buff brush. I usually don't recommend this brush for beginners because it picks up so much product. I only use this brush for applying my brightener, but I know how much to tap in, okay? So this is my brightener shade. It's about, let's see, it's about 3 shades lighter than my main shade. I usually recommend 2 to 3 max, okay? Anything more than that will emphasize texture without a doubt in my mind, okay? But usually you can get away with 2 to 3. If you want subtle, stick with 2. 3 is gonna be more of a pop of brightness, okay? So I can just go and I can just tap in with this brush. And since I kind of nose contoured, I'm gonna go up to that line right there. Okay, and I'm just tapping that on. Can you see the brightness already? Now this is not like white bright under my eyes at all, okay? And you want your accent brightener to look natural. Your artist should be picking this based on the undertone in your skin. And if it's not matching your undertones, it's also going to emphasize texture. I cannot wear a shade that is literally almost the exact same brightness with a different undertone because it does not match the undertones of my skin. It looks chalky, it looks dry, and it looks textured, but they're literally almost the exact same color, okay? So the undertones truly matter on how it's gonna sit on the skin, okay? So I'm just gonna kind of tap this on and I'm just gonna skip the under part of my eye and I'm gonna go right over that hyperpigmentation so it kind of increases my coverage. I am going to skip where I have texture, which is on the side of my nose. And I'm gonna concentrate that brightness right here, okay? Skipping the nostril, and I'm just gonna kind of go up to that contour line. Now, you can probably see that it's kind of emphasizing stuff. I can really see on camera how textured it looks, or how makeup-y, is that a word? How makeup-y it looks, but if you really were to zoom in, you can see it almost like sitting in my pores. Now, I find that this area right in between the brows is notorious for that, okay? And that people are like, it's sitting in my pores, it's sitting in my pores, okay? If you have a very light brightener, yes, it will look like that. And there's only one way to make it not, and I'll get there in a second. Okay, so can you guys see that? I can see it so bad on my end. So there's 2 ways to mitigate this as much as possible. Not go as light, okay? Or apply very little, okay? And so this brush picks up a lot. So I knew it was gonna apply a lot. Normally I like to take something like this and just apply just a touch, okay? And since I used more, I'm gonna have to really do the next step more. But if you take a brush like this and kind of tap it on, okay, I don't really recommend swiping at all because again, I already color corrected, it's gonna move product. But less is more when it comes to the brightener, or it's just gonna emphasize any texture. Also, avoid those areas you have the most texture. So a lot of times you will see, I don't even brighten right here. I'll just brighten down the nose. I skip the nostril area. You can even skip right here on the bottom of your chin if you have more texture there. Because that's also an area of mine that I have texture issues. You know, and just kind of, I do that because it kind of brings a little bit of light. Sometimes I look darker here because that is where I have rosacea, but same goes for out here. So you'll see a lot of times I don't bring my brightener out in the whole trending like lift part right there, because guess what? I have a lot of crow's feet right there. That actually, I usually only do it here if I applied eyeshadow and it gets too low, okay? Because again, anywhere you have texture, that light color will emphasize texture. So if you want a little bit more brightness, you can use your main shade. You can have a more subtle brightener and a more pop brightener to where you use that subtle brightener in areas that, you know, it won't emphasize texture as much, because the farther away you go from your main shade, the more it will emphasize texture. It's just the way this makeup works. Okay, I don't think I've done down my nose yet. Okay, so we used our accent brightener. Now it looks heavy. Now it's sitting in pores. That's normal, guys. That is completely normal for anyone because your skin is not that color. But if you're wanting that pop, if you're wanting to brighten, or if you need to because your neck is lighter and you've really got to bring in those lighter tones to kind of keep your face matching, then you got to use it, and you got to use this. I'm telling you, there is no other way to get this makeup to sit on the skin without looking heavy, without sitting into your pores than this. So when I sat down, I had this already prepared. It's been drying this whole time I've been talking. And so now it's just right. And now it's going to pick up any of that excess product as I just kind of vigorously tap it all over. So the reason I use it all over is so it looks like my skin. Okay, and then those areas with the most amount of texture you want to concentrate on. So for me, that's under the eyes. Anywhere you apply that accent brightener, you really need to be moving this around and using a part of it that's still feeling cold to the touch. Okay. Under the eyes is crucial, okay? Because as we age, obviously we get more texture there. We don't want to emphasize that. We want it to sit smooth as possible, not make us look older, right? The heavier you apply it there, or using this dry, it's not going to work. It's not going to remove any excess, and you're just going to feel like it's emphasizing and looking too textured. Okay? It's impossible not to see any makeup texture, you guys. You're still wearing makeup, but this makeup can truly look like skin if you use this application method, if you apply not too much product, if you use the perfector when it's prepped just right. There's nothing else like it. I have literally tried everything. And I can still see it sitting in the texture of my skin there because I applied too much. So again, trial and error, experiment. You might not be able to apply it there, okay? You might have to apply very little there so it's not gonna be sitting in your pores, okay? So again, pay attention to your skin, play around with it. Don't apply it to those areas of texture unless you absolutely have to. and the Perfector is literally key to keeping it looking like skin, not emphasizing texture. Once you perfect, make sure you don't have any sitting in there, and then we powder, okay? So we said earlier, anywhere that like pores are more apparent, fine lines you don't want to emphasize. Like I still feel like the glowiness of these creams naturally kind of reflect too much light for me under my eyes, so I always powder, okay? Now, the key with any powder is not applying too much. And again, this takes practice. It takes trial and error for you to find the perfect amount for your eyes. So for me, I just touch the powder, okay? And then that takes away just enough of that glow right there under my eyes that it kind of blurs my under eye lines. Okay, and this is a really finely milled powder. Something heavier you would have to use even less of. Okay, but anywhere, say this really bothered me right here, I could easily just tap a little bit of powder to kind of take away that glow there. Okay, and then that's going to make my pores less apparent where I powder. We took away that glow factor, but we still got it on the places that matter that make us look younger. Now, if you've tried all of this and you just cannot get your under eyes down, or you just really struggle with blemishes as they're healing, always looking really dry, that's when I urge you to try Demi, because there's nothing else like it. It's the only thing I've ever seen not emphasize texture on blemishes when applied properly. So I will link my video down below where I did a hybrid method using 3D foundation and then using Demi anywhere that was a texture area, because truly this doesn't emphasize texture like any kind of traditional makeup, not even like 3D. The key is not layering it, and the key is learning color theory, which can take a little bit of practice and patience. Okay, last but not least, a little bit of blush. Same thing goes here when it comes to finishes. So we do have 3 different finishes. We have some glowier ones, and then we have a matte one. If you have issues with texture on your cheek area where you apply a lip and cheek, stick with the mattes. They're not going to reflect light, so they're not going to emphasize the look of texture. So this is one of the very rare places on my face that I don't feel like has too much texture, so that's why I always kind of top it with a little bit of glow. Adds that glow there, but then you can mattify anywhere else that is a problem area for you. Okay, I'm gonna try to find a mix I've never done before. So we're gonna do, let's just do these two that are side by side. I think those would be pretty mixed. Black Cherry and Pinky Promise. So I'm just gonna go one dip into Black Cherry, which is actually really sheer. One dip into Pinky Promise, which is more pink and cool. Okay, same thing goes with Illuminator. You guys, this reflects light, so don't get it too close to the eye if that's a texture issue. If you have texture on the end of your nose, you don't need to apply it there. Again, avoid the glowiness anywhere you have texture. Okay, got my full face done. Now I'm gonna set with our setting spray. Now this gives a dewy look. Again, this is gonna reflect light. It's gonna give a more youthful glow, but I recommend if you don't want that, you gotta spray after all your creams, then powder anywhere you don't wanna glow. Or pick up a more mattifying setting spray. I know Urban Decay has some matte ones that will kind of mattify your whole look. Guys, that's it. That's the full look. That's a few tips and tricks on how to avoid texture, whether it's skin texture, skincare. Remember, your skin is your canvas. Remember, colors make all the difference. There's a difference between seeing skin texture and makeup texture. Don't use too much product. And you can try Demi. If you've tried 3D and you still can't get maybe certain areas, I would say try the hybrid method. It can be a game changer for so many people. And contour colors. Play around with your contour colors. Don't be afraid to mix. Don't be afraid to play with new combinations. I hope that was helpful. If you need help with your makeup or need a color match, my color match request is always in the drop box below the video, and you can tell me everything you like about your makeup, how you want to wear it, and I will give you a custom match just for you. I'd be happy to help. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you.